Hello, my friends. This week, I'm going to be talking about, big surprise, stories, but I'm going to get very specific on the 3 types of sales stories that will help you to be able to sell more. Grab your audience's attention right at the beginning of any demo, presentation, sales call, team meeting where you need to influence people and they are all distracted by their phones and like their laptops. These 3 techniques, you can choose any which one that you want, whichever works best for you and kind of feels good in your gut. I'll tell you exactly how to decide which one that is, but it's going to help you to be able to capture attention. Specifically, when students work with me, we learn all about the limbic system. And the limbic system really is the part of any audience member's brain that is in charge of saying, hey, you should pay attention to this right now. And our limbic system is being bombarded at all times by dings and vibrations and phones and kids asking for snacks and our boss sending a red bang email. And our limbic system is trying to adjust at any given time, and it gets stressed out. So one of the ways that you can grab your audience's attention and earn it and re-earn it over and over again is through storytelling. Because everyone understands a good story, and we're storytelling creatures. You've heard me talk about this, whether it's the hero's journey in your own personal life, or whether we're talking about sales or pre-sales, and when we're helping corporations be able to tell better stories so they can sell more things. It's all the same thing. We as human beings love giving and receiving stories, from oral storytelling tradition that our ancestors did, Aesop's fables when we're young, golden books, all of those things. We have learned how to tell and receive stories. It's how we best get information. It's how we also spend our time. Netflix binging, watching movies, episodic television. We love stories. So why do we forget when we're in business situations that this is our most powerful asset that we could possibly be using? It's really funny. I've been on so many sales calls, so many demos, so many in-person presentations, keynotes from the stage at huge events that have cost so much money to put on. And people come on and they just jump right into their slides or their presentation or whatever, and they don't tease the audience's brain first. You have to tease our brain. There's so many things, like I mentioned, that are pulling on our attention at any given time. Find a way to grab our brain, make us curious, and bring us into your story. And so I'm going to give you 3 techniques today. And this is part of our T3 storytelling technique. So tease, tell, told is how we do that. And this is the tease part of the storytelling structure. So these stories are meant to grab your audience's attention and tease their brain. All right? So these are the 3 ways that you're going to be able to do it. And I'll give you some examples of each one so you can start to think about, okay, which one of these is going to work best for me, Aaron, and my personality type, and also fit my audience best. And we're going to go into that. So what you want to do is you want to choose either a personal story, something that's personal from you, that's happened to you in your life, or happened to a close friend, something that you can tell that relates to your personal life. That's the first type of story. The second type of story is an industry trend. So this is the type of story that you can use facts and figures and customer quotes, things like that, that grab the audience's attention and say, hey, here's some good information here, that these are facts that should convince you right away and make us go, oh, maybe I should pay attention to this. This is an industry trend. I want to be in the know about that. The third type of story is an analogy. An analogy is great because you can go ahead, you can start to draw a parallel from a different situation and how it maybe improved your life or someone else's life, and then take that example and transpose it onto the information you're going to be giving the audience now. Maybe it's a solution or something you're selling, or a program they're going to be involved in, or maybe some software that you're selling or something like that, or a service. But you're going to be able to show them, like, just kind of like in this scenario, that can also work for you here. So it's that kind of story. So those are the 3 types of stories I'm going to discuss, give you an example for each. The first one's a personal story. The second one, industry trend. And again, the third type, analogy. If you just choose one of these story types and use it in your very next sales demo, presentation, keynote speech that you're giving, you're going to be able to grab your audience's attention and they will be with you so much faster and engaged, and you will own the audience to be able to help them and teach them about the thing you want to teach them, show them the thing you want to show them, give them the information that you want them to absorb. It will be so much easier for you. You're going to feel great about it, and they're going to learn more because of the fact that their brain has been cracked open to receive information. They're having what I call a force field down moment. They're no longer skeptical of who is this person, why are they talking, why should I listen to them? Because you've drawn them in with a story, with your tease. You're teasing their brain. All right, so let's get into each one right now. So the personal story. The personal story is the first type, and it's one that I use all the time. Other than the analogy, it's probably the one I use the most. And the reason I love personal stories is because you can't forget your lines. You think of an instance where you did something or something happened to you, and you tie it to what's happening with the presentation you're giving or the story you're trying to tell them or the information you're giving them. And it just makes it very easy for the listener or the person watching you to go, oh, if that worked in that scenario, then it probably will also work in mine. Also, it builds trust so much faster because of the fact that you're showing vulnerability. You're giving them insight into your own personal life and giving them an example that is universal and related to them. It's humanizing you. You're not just some person in front of them trying to get a sale or trying to convince them of the thing you're trying to convince them. You're saying, hey, I'm human. This happened to me in my life. And this is why this is an example of how it can help you with what we're talking about today. So just a very easy way to do that. Now, for instance, for me, there was this one time when I was with my family in Disney World. This was about 1.5 years ago. We were in Disney World. We had gone all day long. We had so much fun. It was my wife and I and our 2 kids. My youngest at the time was 9. And her name's Margot. And we waited all day to get on this one ride. And it was the Star Wars ride that has a 3-4 hour wait, it seems like, for the entire day. And we finally had a window of opportunity to get in and see it, and we did. Now, it was dusk now, and my daughter all day had been talking about the fact that she wanted one of these amazing giant balloons that had these flashy LED lights in it. And it went along with their like electric light show parade thing they had at the end of the evening. And she was so excited to have it. She waited all day for it. And you know, when you're 9, waiting until dusk actually takes like 1,000,000 years. And so she finally got to that point and she was ready for her balloon. I was like, let's do this. We went and bought the balloon. She was thrilled with it. It was great. And she was so excited to take it back to the hotel afterwards and have this amazing balloon. Anyway, we go to get in line, and it becomes apparent that, oh, this is a huge balloon. We can't take this on the ride. But the Disney employees were super great. They called them cast members. I love that. And they said, oh, don't worry. We will hold it for you. Got down on her level, said, hey, don't worry. We're going to take care of this for you. It'll be here waiting for you as soon as you get back. So we get on the ride. We have a great time. We come out. The balloon is gone. The employees don't know what happened. Someone must have grabbed it when they didn't see it on the way out. My daughter is devastated. Okay. Imagine this 9-year-old little girl. In her world, it was her most prized possession now. And immediate tears. Okay. And I'm trying to console her, and my wife is as well. And we're talking about, oh, we can just get another one. It's okay. Like, these things happen. But she rightly so said, hey, you told me you were going to watch it for me and you were going to take care of it for me. And they're like, you know what? You're absolutely right. We are so sorry this happened to you. We want you to have a magical Disney day. And they wrote basically a blank check. They gave her this gift coupon that allowed her to go into any Disney gift shop on the property and pick out whatever she wanted. Okay, this was probably a $20 balloon with all the flashy lights and everything. Very expensive balloon, but a $20 balloon. And she ended up picking out this like $60 like Minnie Mouse backpack. She was thrilled with it. She was no longer upset. She thought it was the best thing ever. They turned her experience from something that went wrong into something that she will remember and that went right. Now, when you are thinking about working with us and the things that we do, experience is very important to us as well. And in your business, you might have something that happens, because it happens to all of us at some point, where a customer is upset. They don't feel like that you delivered in the way that they expected you to. This is going to happen, but you still have an opportunity to create an experience for them, even out of something that can seem like a temporary tragedy, if you're willing to create an experience. Just like that happened with us with the balloon, you can create an experience using our software or service or technology, using what we're going to show you today, and take something that could maybe have not been a great experience and change your customers' viewpoint and the way they feel about that, so that they become an evangelist for you and they retell the story like I just told you that story. Okay, so that was one example. I kind of went into role there and showed you how I could take a personal story and then relate it to if I was selling a service or software or selling someone else on something that we would do in order to help them with an experience. I probably should have told you that I was going to go into role there before I did it. Hopefully I didn't confuse too many of you, but you're all smart. I'm pretty sure that you're fine. So that's an example of a personal story. I love those, like I said, because you can't forget your lines. They will feel the inflection in your voice. They will go with you on the journey of the story because it happened to you. And people can tell very quickly. People's BS meters are fairly attuned at this point. And if they can tell that you're telling them a real story and then relate it to how it can help them, you will find that they are much more willing to come with you and that you can earn their trust much faster. So personal story, that's the first one. The second example I wanted to give you is an industry trend story. So we can talk, for instance, and I'll go into role here again in a second as well and show you that transition. Let's talk about remote work growth. So over the last several years, even pre-pandemic, there was a trend that was starting to happen where the want of the remote worker, as well as cost of real estate, office space, all of these things were really coming to a head as far as people wanted to work more from home. But traditionally, offices and businesses feel like they wouldn't have as much oversight. What if people didn't do the work? What if productivity went down? And there was a lot of scarcity thinking around that. Now, the pandemic forced people to actually figure out how to adapt and make this happen, whether it was through Zoom or whether it was through team building and doing different kinds of things, but having a truly hybrid work remote force that would be able to help them do that. And because of that situation, we were forced into a new paradigm where remote work is much more accepted now. And it accelerated that process so much faster than it would have happened naturally. We would have eventually gotten there, but it accelerated it so much faster in a short period of time because we physically were not allowed to get together during that time. Now, remote work, because of this, has kept growing, and people are demanding that they have the opportunity to work remote at least partial part of the time in order to have a better work-life balance. Because a lot of people, and you can see these trends in what I'm showing you, are two-income households, and the work-life balance had gotten out of shift. And so this is here to stay. And these statistics, and I would show them statistics at that point, show that this is only going to continue. So how do you adapt to this to be able to make sure that your workforce is more productive with the people that you have, but also make it so that they're happier and that attrition goes down for you? And that's what we're here to talk about today with our solution. So that might be, I'm out of role now, that might be how I transition from showing an industry trend, some statistics to back it up, and then transition that to what I'm going to show them, what I'm going to tell them in my demo, my presentation, my sales story in order to help them. Can't you start to see how much more palatable it is to start your presentation not with, hey, this is who I am and this is what our company does and all these things that no one fucking cares about. No one cares about your company. They just don't. And it's not because they're mean. It's because they are here to solve a problem that they are having right now. And if you can help them through bringing them in through a story, gathering them together and then showing them how you can do that, it is so much easier for you to sell if you do it that way. It's quicker for you to be able to do, it's easier for them to be able to understand, and it will help you to be able to close more deals faster this way as well. So we've done the first two now. We've done the personal story and the industry trend. Either of those will work for you. Some of you might right now be thinking like, I kind of like the personal story more if you can see myself doing that. Others of you might be like, no, I definitely like the facts and the figures and the trends. Like that's my jam. That's great. Because part of this is following your gut. What kind of story do you authentically like to tell? Because when you enjoy yourself, the audience can tell. The audience can tell that authenticity. They can tell that you're into it. They can tell you're passionate about it. And we love listening and watching and engaging with passionate people, not someone that just showed up to throw up another sales presentation and doesn't really care about it. Now let's talk about the third one. I use this one a lot as well. And you can start to blend this with the personal story if you wanted as well. I'm sure you'll be able to see how you could do it. But the analogy is the third one. We did personal story, industry trend, story, and now we're doing an analogy. So, for instance, I've used this one so many times. I'm going to give it to you as well because my students love this one. I've seen so many of them use this in their sales presentations and demos after I've done things with them and they've gone through our course. So there is a video. So a great way to start a story, whether it's a virtual presentation or whether you're in person, is to show a video clip or a meme or something like that, because we love that type of stuff. So I have a clip of an I Love Lucy show. So this is that black and white show from back in the day where there was Lucy LaBelle and her husband Desi, and they had the specific episode where her best friend Ethel and Lucy were trying to get a job on a chocolate production conveyor belt. And so it was their job to put all these chocolates down and like wrap them as they can. The chocolates would come across and they had to wrap them really fast and then set them back down the conveyor belt. And the conveyor belt kept going. And they started to get to the fact where the conveyor belt was going faster and faster and they couldn't wrap them fast enough. And it was just hilarious physical comedy, but they was just speeding up faster and faster and faster. They couldn't keep up. So they started stuffing them in their hats and stuffing them down their shirts and stuffing them in their mouths to be able to keep up. And it is absolutely hilarious slapstick comedy, physical comedy. It plays to a broad audience across cultures because we all understand physical comedy. We don't need the words. So I've shown this video clip before about the conveyor belt getting faster and faster and faster, and Lucy and Ethel trying to keep up and trying to keep up and trying to do all kinds of different things in order to keep up and not get behind. So I'll show that short 45-second clip. The audience is now laughing, a great release of endorphins. People are in a better mood already. They have a hit of nostalgia for anyone who remembers that, watching that when they were a kid, home alone sick, or whether, they remember watching that with their family or their parents or whatever. Maybe they're watching it for the first time. But humor, great way to be able to break the ice. And then you can say, hey, so just like our friends, Lucy and Ethel, it can often feel like no matter what we do to be able to keep up with current trends and with what's happening in our business, that someone is constantly speeding up the conveyor belt. Whether it's missing an email that was important from your boss, or whether it's a Slack, but you have so many open Slack channels open, and like, is there another customer call that's coming in? There's all these different ways that you can lose track and easily get behind. And so what we're here to help you today to do is to use our new communication suite, which will make it so that everything is in one place for you. You can control the speed of the conveyor belt, and you never have to worry about missing anything again and feeling that stress that Lucy and her best friend did. And now I'm out of roll. See, so there's very simple ways to be able to tell stories. This is an example of an analogy. Just like this is what you're feeling right now in the work situation, like the conveyor belt, and we're going to make it so that you get to control the conveyor belt. It's a simple concept, but it's an easy story to tell. It's universal. You can show a video clip. Think of all the different wonderful video clips that you have in your mind bookmarked on YouTube. Things that you love to show from your favorite episode of Friends or from your favorite TV show or something else that you could probably use as an example as an analogy of what you're going to be talking about today in that sales presentation, that team meeting, in the keynote speech you're about to give. So use video to your advantage, but specifically in the way that you can use it for an analogy. So those are the three different types, the three most powerful that I have found for myself and for our students of storytelling in sales situations or in keynote presentations, live events, remote events, things like that. Remember, that first one's a personal story. The second one's an industry trend. And the third one is an analogy. Like I said before, one of them is probably singing out to you and vibing with you a little more strongly than the others. Go with that gut feeling. Because if you enjoy it and you like doing it, that will come across during your next storytelling presentation or demo or sales call. The other thing to consider is who's the audience that you're specifically delivering this story to, this tease to go into your story in this specific instance. Are you presenting to people that would probably like an analogy better or a personal story? Those tend to work really well with the same kind of audience. Personal preference comes in there just for you. Or is it someone, an event or something that is more formal, that they actually might be an audience of people that for them, what grabs their attention is facts and figures and industry trends, customer quotes, things like that. Are they the kind of people that find that kind of thing more limbically engaging? If that's the case, maybe you should tell that kind of story to this specific audience. The cool thing is that when you start putting these together, because we tell the same sales stories for our products or the things that we sell to people or that we talk about with people over and over and over again. So if you have a personal story, an industry trend story, and an analogy story for the same service or product or solution or talk that you give, but then you just adjust which one you use depending on which audience you're talking to this specific time, you're bulletproof. So I think you can probably start to see how powerful being able to tell these three different types of stories is going to be for you and your business. So what I want you to do is pick one. Just pick one that you think is fun to do. And I want you to try it out in your very next demo, presentation, keynote speech, team meeting that you're leading. At the beginning, use it to tease their brain, get their limbic system to pay attention to you instead of that small beeping device or their laptop. I guarantee you it's going to be so much more fun for you, more effective for the people that are listening. And if you're in a sales situation, way better for closing more deals faster, getting to your point and getting your audience to go, I get it. I'm ready to buy. All right, that's it for this week, my friends. I will talk to you soon. Have a great week.